The lights inside Fox News were blinding. The studio glowed with red, white, and blue, as if America itself was about to speak. Cameras rolled. Anchors smiled. The world was watching. Donald Trump adjusted his suit. The smugness on his face was thick enough to cut with a knife. "We're honored," the host began, "to have two powerful global figures here today, U.S. President Donald Trump, and live from Ouagadougou, the young revolutionary, Captain Ibrahim Traoré." Traoré appeared calm, beaming in via satellite from a modest room in Burkina Faso. Dressed in olive green, his medals glinted under soft lighting. The mood was diplomatic, at first. But then, Trump leaned forward, his voice thick with mock politeness. "You know," he said, chuckling, "people like her, these foreign parasites, come to the global stage acting like heroes, but they leech off our systems and preach nonsense from broken countries." Gasps rippled through the studio. The anchor froze. The sound team stopped breathing. Traoré blinked. Slowly. Then, he leaned forward. His face didn't show rage. It showed something worse. Disappointment. And the silence grew heavy. Too heavy. Traoré stared directly into the camera. Not at Trump. Not at the anchor. At us. At the world. "Did you just call me a parasite?" he asked softly, as if confirming whether he'd heard correctly, or giving Trump one last chance to walk it back. Trump leaned back, confident. "I said what I said. You don't like it? Grow thicker skin." The silence that followed was unbearable. The Fox studio lights suddenly felt hotter. One of the assistants in the back covered her mouth in disbelief. The cameraman's hands trembled slightly, but Traoré didn't raise his voice. Instead, he spoke like a man who had seen war, hunger, and betrayal, and had survived it all. "I was born in a hospital with no electricity," he said calmly. "I went to school with torn shoes. I buried friends before I learned to drive. And I've led a nation through blood and fire without stealing a dime." Trump tried to laugh, but it caught in his throat. "I may not come from wealth," Traoré continued, "but I have something you've never had." He paused. "Honor." The studio exploded in silence. Social media ignited within seconds. "I stand with Traoré." Fox meltdown. Trump vs. Africa. The broadcast was still live. Anchors scrambled behind their glowing desks. Producers whispered frantically through headsets, but none of it could stop what had been unleashed. Traoré didn't flinch. His hands were folded on the table. His voice was steady. "You call me a parasite," he said, "but you forget something. Your country didn't build itself. You built it on the backs of those you now call foreigners. We bled. We died. So you could sit there with your golden tie and pretend we owe you." Trump's mouth moved, but no words came. Traoré's eyes, sharp as a blade, pierced through the screen. "My mother raised 6 children alone after my father died, in service to this continent. We grew up with dust in our lungs and hope in our hearts. And today, I sit here not as your equal." He leaned forward, "but as a reminder that truth doesn't need permission." The studio remained frozen, and somewhere, across the globe, a child in Africa wiped a tear and whispered, "That's our president." A Fox News anchor tried to cut to commercial. "We'll be right back." "No," Traoré interrupted firmly, his voice cutting through the studio like thunder. "Let the world see. Don't hide behind music and ads." Trump shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "I came here in peace," Traoré continued, his voice still calm, but his eyes lit with fire. "But peace is not weakness, and silence in the face of arrogance is betrayal." The camera zoomed in on Trump. He wasn't smirking anymore. Traoré reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small photo. It was faded, creased, and worn at the edges. "This was my best friend, Suleiman," he said softly. "We grew up together. He died trying to stop terrorists funded with weapons your country abandoned in our region." Trump looked away. Traoré's hands trembled, but not from fear, from memory. He didn't beg. He didn't run. He stood for his people. "And you dare call us parasites?" The room held its breath. Back in Burkina Faso, people gathered around radios, phones, and TVs. Children in dusty courtyards leaned forward. Elderly women paused their cooking. Soldiers paused training. Everyone was watching. "Captain," a young reporter whispered from the satellite feed, "your mic is still live." "I know," Traoré replied. And he continued. "While you live behind walls and bodyguards," he said, looking straight at Trump, "we bury our dead with our own hands. We don't hide behind power. We carry it." Trump finally spoke. "I didn't mean you personally. I meant your system." "My system?" Traoré repeated slowly. "Do you mean the same system your corporations plunder? The same fields your satellites fly over to steal data from? Or the system where our nurses work 2 jobs and still send money to families in your cities?" The anchor looked helpless. She had lost control of the interview. Trump stood up slightly, as if to walk out. But Traoré wasn't finished. "We are not your burden," he said. "We are your mirror, and maybe you don't like what you see." Across the world, a child in Detroit whispered, "Why is no one stopping him?" Because truth had taken the microphone. For a moment, the captain's voice cracked. His tone dropped. His face softened. "My mother," Traoré said, "used to carry vegetables 10 kilometers just to feed us. When I became a soldier, she said, 'Don't fight for revenge. Fight for dignity.'" The screen cut briefly to a still photo. His mother in a white dress, standing in front of a small clay house. "Last year, I visited her grave," he said, voice shaking. "She never got to see the man I became." A tear rolled down his cheek. Trump stared, silent. "Don't confuse my calm with weakness," Traoré said, brushing the tear away. "Real strength isn't how loud you talk. It's how much pain you carry and still choose to stand." The studio went quiet again. A producer wiped his own eyes behind the glass. "I'm not here for applause," Traoré finished. "I'm here because the world forgot how to listen to the voiceless. I'm just a voice." The anchor finally spoke, but her voice broke. "Captain Traoré, we're listening now." And millions were. The studio lights flickered for a second, an odd glitch no one noticed. Captain Traoré looked down briefly, then back up. "I'm not angry because you insulted me," he said to Trump. "I'm angry because you insulted every mother who's raised a child without clean water. Every father who sold his last goat to pay for school fees. You insulted my people." Trump remained frozen in his seat. "And let me tell you something personal," Traoré said. "When I was a boy, my brother died in my arms. No ambulance came. We were told to wait, but he never made it." The audience gasped. "I promised him that day," Traoré continued, voice trembling, "that I would make this world look us in the eye, that I would never let people like you look down on us again." He paused. "You call me a parasite, but I am the proof that from pain, greatness can rise." In Burkina Faso, a little girl watching with her grandmother squeezed her hand and said, "Grandma, I want to be like him." Twitter exploded. "You're watching history. This is bigger than politics." Traoré just spoke for all of us. At UN headquarters, African diplomats stood still in corridors, eyes glued to their phones. In Paris, students played the video aloud in cafes. In Nairobi, boda riders stopped in traffic to listen. But inside the Fox studio, silence still ruled. Trump tapped his fingers, clearly agitated. His usual confidence had vanished. "I didn't mean it like that," he finally muttered. Traoré nodded slightly. "You meant it exactly like that," he replied. That's why you said it so easily. The female anchor tried to steer the conversation, but Traoré gently raised a hand. You don't have to protect him, he said. Let him sit in the discomfort of what he said. Suddenly, the large screen behind them lit up. It showed a live feed from Burkina Faso. People gathered around radios, cheering, crying, waving flags. The image said what words couldn't, and even Trump couldn't look away. You see, Traoré whispered, we may be poor in money, but we're rich in soul. Traoré slowly reached into a worn envelope. His hands, though steady, were clearly holding something heavy. I wasn't going to read this, he said, but maybe now I have to. He unfolded the paper. My father, he began, wrote this before he died during a mission in 1999. He served under UN command, wearing a blue helmet that wasn't bulletproof. Trump glanced away. Traoré continued, my son, if I don't make it home, don't be angry. Anger will burn your light. Carry your country with dignity. Speak only when it's time, and when you do, speak for the ones who can't. His voice cracked, but he didn't stop. I've spent my life preparing for this moment, not to fight you, but to remind the world, we are not your background noise. We are the unfinished story you tried to erase. The letter trembled in his hand. He looked up. I buried this letter in my mother's garden for years. I dug it up last week. Maybe he knew this day would come. The camera zoomed in. His eyes were full of tears, but his spine was unshakable. And for once, even Fox News was speechless. Traoré stared at the studio floor for a moment. Then he lifted his head slowly. You want to talk about parasites? He asked. Let's talk about my childhood hospital. He spoke like a man remembering something too painful to forget. My cousin Karim bled out on a floor made of dirt. There were no beds, no medicine, just his mother's scarf to hold his body together. The studio had never felt this quiet. I held his hand, Traoré said. I told him, you'll be okay. But I was lying. He was 9. Trump blinked, but said nothing. We asked for aid. We begged for partnerships. But what did we get? Traoré asked. Loans we couldn't pay, empty promises, and lectures about corruption. He looked directly into the camera. We didn't die because we were poor. We died because we were forgotten. A tear escaped his eye. But we don't want pity, he said. We want respect. Somewhere in the Fox control room, a senior producer whispered to a junior tech, this is no longer an interview, it's a reckoning. As the interview unfolded, across the Atlantic in Ouagadougou, an elderly man sat alone in a small cement house. It was Colonel Bamba, Traoré's first commander. His hands trembled as he held a phone to his ear. Are you watching? A younger soldier asked him over the line. I never stopped watching, the colonel replied. He could see his student on the glowing screen, the one who, years ago, had stood in the rain all night just to guard a refugee camp. Ibrahim hasn't changed, Bamba whispered. He's just finally being heard. Back at Fox, the anchor tried to lighten the tension. So, Captain Traoré, are you saying the U.S. is to blame for your hardship? Traoré didn't smile. He didn't flinch. I'm saying the world built walls and called them solutions, he said. And now it's shocked to see what grew in the shadows. Trump was silent again. His face was tight, jaw locked. Traoré turned, almost speaking to Trump directly. You didn't create our suffering, but you looked away when it bloomed. For the first time during the broadcast, Donald Trump's breathing became visible. He leaned forward, his face not angry, but strange, tight, silent. Traoré noticed it too. Mr. Trump, he said slowly, this is not a fight between you and me. This is about something bigger. Trump stared at the table. The smug mask had dropped. Traoré reached into his pocket again and pulled out something unexpected. a small bracelet made of string and cowrie shells. "My sister made this before she passed," he said. "She was 14. She wanted to be a doctor, but malaria killed her in a week." A few sniffles echoed from behind the Fox camera crew. She said, "Ibrahim, make them see us." He held up the bracelet. "You called me a parasite, but I carry this for her, and for millions of voices you'll never hear because they don't speak English or have social media." Trump's lips parted slightly, but he still said nothing. His hand touched his chest for a moment as if checking his own heartbeat. This wasn't going the way anyone expected, and the world watched, breathless. Traoré placed the bracelet on the table. It looked tiny under the bright Fox studio lights, just string and beads, but it carried centuries of pain. He sat back, not with pride, but with dignity. Trump finally leaned toward his microphone. His voice came out softer than usual. I didn't mean to offend your sister." For a second, the world stopped spinning. But Traoré didn't take the apology. Not yet. "Offending her isn't the issue," he said. "Erasing her was." Trump's eyes fluttered. The weight was settling in. Traoré looked to the anchor. "May I say one thing to the children watching?" She nodded. Traoré turned to the camera. "If you feel small, invisible, poor, forgotten, listen to me. You are not weak. You are not less. The world may not see you, but that doesn't mean you don't shine." Tears streamed down faces in homes across the globe, and for the first time in the broadcast, Trump lowered his head. He wasn't defeated. He was disarmed. By truth. Somewhere in northern Burkina Faso, a boy named Mokhtar stood barefoot beside a broken radio. He didn't understand English, but he understood tears. He had never seen a president cry before. "He's like us," Mokhtar said softly. Back in the Fox studio, the anchor tried to shift tone. "Captain Traoré," she asked, "is there hope? Can there really be peace between your world and ours?" Traoré took a long breath, then nodded. "Yes, but not if we keep pretending pain only matters when it's Western." Trump lifted his head slightly. "Then what do you suggest?" he asked, voice lower than usual. Traoré's answer stunned the room. "Come to Burkina Faso." Trump blinked. "I mean it," Traoré said. "Walk where we walk, eat what we eat, talk to our farmers, our teachers, our soldiers. Then look me in the eye and say we're parasites." The anchor's jaw dropped. And for a moment even Trump didn't know what to say. Because deep down, he heard the invitation as a challenge, but also as a lifeline. Trump didn't speak, but the silence said everything. Cameras captured his face, no longer hard, no longer smug, just still. Even the Fox control room didn't cut to commercial. They knew. This was not news. This was history. Traoré stood up slowly, adjusting his jacket. But before he left, he turned back to the camera one last time. "To every African child watching, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are just not finished yet." The lights in the studio suddenly grew brighter, as if the room itself was waking up. And around the world, something began to shift. A Senegalese nurse wiped her tears during a night shift. A single mother in Atlanta whispered, "I needed to hear that." A teenager in Haiti replayed the video 5 times, then messaged his class group chat, "Watch this." Fox News cut the feed, but the damage, or maybe the healing, had already begun. And for the first time in years, people stopped scrolling. They listened. The world was still watching. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't miss his chance. He turned to the anchor, then to Trump. "I'll extend a personal invitation," he said calmly. "Come to Burkina Faso. Not with press, not with cameras, just you, just truth." Trump looked stunned. Everyone expected more fire, more fury. But this was something else. Come see the village where my sister died, Traoré continued. Meet the farmers who pray for rain, not dollars. Talk to our soldiers who fight with holes in their boots but never complain. Trump was quiet again. He opened his mouth, then closed it. The anchor looked ready to speak, but she didn't. The studio was frozen, not out of fear, but a kind of respect. Traoré adjusted the bracelet on his wrist. If you ever want to understand what leadership without luxury looks like, he said, you're welcome in my home. And with that, he stood. No drama, no threat, just dignity. And millions watching at home were already in tears. The interview ended, but the story didn't. Clips of Traoré's speech flooded TikTok and Instagram. Thousands stitched their own tears to his voice. Teachers paused class to show their students. African diaspora groups held viewings in basements, mosques, and living rooms. CNN ran a headline, "The most powerful interview of the decade," and it wasn't even about power. In a small Burkina Faso school, students gathered around a donated laptop. One girl whispered, "He looks like my uncle." Another said, "He sounds like my father." A teacher added softly, "He speaks like someone who's bled for something real." And in an unexpected twist, Trump's own son posted a tweet. "Today I saw a real leader. His name is Ibrahim Traoré." The internet exploded. Fox reran the episode. Twice. Then again on Sunday. People couldn't stop talking, not because they were entertained, but because they were moved. The confrontation wasn't about a fight between two men. It was about what kind of world we want to live in. A week later, a video went viral. A barefoot boy in Mali stood in the rain, saluting the sky. He was wearing a self-made cardboard badge that read, "Future President, like Ibrahim Traoré." No camera crew, no speech, just pure emotion. Back in Ouagadougou, Captain Traoré saw the video late at night. He watched it once, then twice. Then he quietly whispered, "This is why I spoke." He closed his eyes and smiled. If this story touched your heart, if you felt something you haven't felt in a long time, please don't scroll away. Tell us what made you cry. Drop a comment below. Your words matter. Like this video so more people can hear the truth. And if you believe voices like Traoré's deserve the world stage, hit that subscribe button. Join our movement of real stories, real people, and real change. Let's not just watch history. Let's become part of it. And don't forget, even in silence, we can shake the world.